John Marco, there's an eclipse coming up.
Mm.
Yeah, a solar eclipse, 4 minutes and change or something of just darkness. And apparently big things happen during eclipses. I don't know any of them, but I'm sure JFK Jr. was shot during an eclipse, and I'm sure Abraham Lincoln was shot during an eclipse, and I'm sure that 9/11 was an eclipse time or
Yeah,
something.
for
But
sure.
they say that eclipses coincide, and by they I mean astrologers on Instagram say that eclipses coincide with big events, right? And actually, to the right and like nut jobs are going with this and saying that yeah, there might be something with this eclipse. First, here is a Paige, who put this out? Here's a tweet about the path of the eclipse in the northeast of the United States, where it's going to be passing through. And this person on Twitter
Incredible.
has pinpointed all of the spots that, like, according to them, correlate. Like, why is the eclipse passing through all of these historic places? And now, mind you, about 2/3 of them are places where there have been mass shootings, which, like, let's be real, that's not that hard in the United States for an eclipse to happen to pass through a bunch of states where there have been mass shootings, because there's been mass shootings in every fucking state. But they are Eagle Pass, which is nothing. It's just a city. Like Uvalde school shooting, Waco massacre, JFK assassination, Bill Clinton birthplace, Rose Law Firm, who? Whitewater, Jonesboro school shooting, Padua school shooting, Mike Pence birthplace, Kent State massacre, East Palestine train derailment, Buffalo mass shooting. It just like, so it's like, don't we see the connection? This is, thank you, random Twitter guy, says Paige. But then here's Alex Jones, and I promise there was two Alex Jones. Yes, two Alex Jones quotes. Here's Alex Jones saying that no, this is an excuse to create martial law to establish. The right is very excited about martial law. They cannot wait. They're like, oh, it's martial law.
Yeah.
And it's because, there have been warnings issued to Americans about looking into the eclipse. Because if you guys remember the last time there was an eclipse, I believe it was 2017, and people looked at the sun directly. Here's this poor gentleman staring right into the sun on the day of the eclipse. He later was able to find his glasses and put him on. That is Donald Trump, for those listening. We all remember. And I got to say, John Marco, like, I've actually never identified harder with Donald Trump than in this moment, because I know I shouldn't, but I did do a little, like, I did a little peek at the
Of
sun.
course. I mean,
naked.
Everyone was joking, like, oh, what an idiot. He looked right at it. And I'm like, well, he seems to be okay. So maybe this was not a great example.
Maybe it helped him.
Maybe.
Okay, so here's Alex Jones on what he thinks is going to happen during this eclipse.
But there is zero reason for all of this other than the government trying to scare people and create fear, but that's secondary, and promote mumbo jumbo. But what it is, because I've got all the articles and all the documents right here, is a martial law drill. So this is a test of the Obama kill switch, of martial law, of a government takeover.
Now behind him is, I think, Apocalypto. Is that the Mel Gibson movie?
I think so, yeah.
Apocalypsis or Apocalypto, but it's basically like there's like a ritual sacrifice, a Mayan sacrifice, I believe. And there's an eclipse right at like the pivotal moment, and everyone's like looking up, which is just hilarious. But I love that, like, eclipses, as evidenced by Apocalypto, like, just the idea that, like, they were always seen as these crazy events, and, societies for so long have seen them as omniscious. I don't know words today.
Sure.
But then in effect, Alex Jones is doing the exact same thing just in the year 2024. Like, what does the eclipse mean? Like, it's gonna be, the civilization is collapsing, there's gonna be martial law, they're using it as a pretext, and then he's got his documents and he goes through them, and it's basically just like, hey, General Lloyd Austin says don't look right up at the sun. like hey, CDC says don't look at the sun. Hey, President Biden says, don't look at the, like, all of these people are just like, watch out. Don't look at the sun. Be prepared, hospitals, because people are going to come in having stared at the sun.
It's going to be tough. I mean, I'm sure Alex Jones goes around the house. He sees the bleach, says, don't drink. He's like, what do they not want us to know?
Exactly. The same shit. So anyway, I want to know, boy, this is a long wind up to get here. What do you think is going to happen politically, socially, entertainment news? Hang on, I'm going to run this clip. This is total eclipse of the brain. I'm having a total eclipse of my brain. Gianmarco, what could happen? It's Monday, April 8th. What shall the not sun bring?
Well, I think that day I'll be flying back from some gigs in Texas. So
Ooh.
I think somehow this eclipse will I think will make my plane go safely, and it wasn't going to because of Boeing, but because of the eclipse, they'll make a sudden turn. It gets in their eyes, and it'll actually land safely, even though it's a Boeing 7. So that's my hope. Is that all the planes are safe from the eclipse, and that's all I can hope for.
I like that. I was just hoping that, like, one of our two front runners for president, something happens with them. Not like, I mean, obviously, which one I'd like it to happen with. I mean, I'm fine with either of them, something happening, but like,
what if it made them younger? What if the eclipse suddenly it took 10 years off?
I would love that. I would love it if it takes 10 years off and they're just like running laps and shit, and they're getting up, they're juicing.
Yeah.
You're spitting out full coherent sentences. I mean, yeah, we could really use 10 years. Or maybe they switch, like some sort of Freaky Friday situation.
Sure. And they realize each other's perspective,
which is mostly the same perspective.
Mostly the same. They go back and they're like, not even more of a Zionist than I was before. That's what's going to happen.
That's what I think. I think something like that. Or like I'll get a call from Mr. Hollywood, and I'll be like, hey, come work on my big feature film.
Sure.
I'm holding a Stanley Cup to my face, even though it's not a Stanley Cup.
I once had an old manager, and I asked, why haven't I been getting any auditions recently? And she said, well, Mercury's in retrograde.
That's the excuse that I use for my tech stuff failing me earlier in the show. But that really, you live in New York, Gianmarco, and I think y'all are a little bit more grounded. Whereas when you move to LA, you do have an eclipse of the brain, and you suddenly blame Mercury being in retrograde for truly everything. Or Mercury in reggaeton, as my good friend says, which is a lot more fun. Well, TBD, hey, maybe the US will stop selling and sending weapons to Israel. That'd be tight. Or maybe World War III kicks off. Either way, tomato, we'll just play with fate until we just let the planets decide for us. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.